What's up, man?
Hey, how you doing, brother?
Nick.
Yes, sir. Dante, Deniro Farrar. But
Yeah, this is Nick with Splash Media. We're doing an interview with Deniro Farrar.
Shout out to Splash.
Friend of the company,
Yes.
regular collaborator.
Yes.
Got a bunch of questions for you here. We're going
Yeah.
to talk about you. We're going to talk about Nightmare.
Okay.
Talk about what's coming next. So, yeah, man, it's good to be with you.
Yes, sir.
So, you're from North Carolina.
Born and raised.
Now you live in Portland.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your background and the transition there, because those are some pretty different places.
Yeah. Night and day. I literally came from North Carolina to Brooklyn, Brooklyn to Portland. So night and day.
What was that like for you?
Well, I mean, New York was so different for me. You know, it was a real culture shock. Like, I remember the first time going to New York in maybe 2013, I want to say. I'd never seen that many people in my life cross the street at one time. It made me nervous, so much so that I like froze because I didn't know what to do. It was like hundreds of people coming at me, and I panicked. I damn near had a panic attack. So New York was a lot, you know, like on my nervous system, New York was a lot. Fire, trucks, people, it was just too much for me. So Portland reminds me of home. I like Portland because it's chill, it's slow, I can drive. Being on public transportation in New York, being underground on the train and my phone didn't work, I always felt like a victim. It just felt weird. So,
Interesting.
Yeah.
So what brought you from North Carolina to New York? Was it music?
Not really. Me and my partner moved here. We just wanted something different. Pandemic hit. We were living in New York. Rent is still rent in New York. And we just wanted something different. She never lived in a house before. So now we got a house in Portland. And it's like a dream.
Hell
you
yeah.
know? So yeah.
How do you settle on Portland? Like, it seems like such an arbitrary
Random.
choice,
Yeah,
right? Like, what's
yeah.
the...
Honestly, it was just like, it was a hard yes in my body and in hers at the same time. Like, we just kind of threw around a couple places. I think we toyed with the idea of maybe Denver, Arizona. I didn't want to be down south no more, but we threw those places around, and we both was like, yo, let's go check out Portland. So we came for her birthday, we came for my birthday, and it was a hard yes. But we didn't know it rained so damn much in the wintertime. You know what I'm saying? So that was the only downside to it.
Get that seasonal affective disorder.
Bro,
Yeah.
I'm talking about, like, I never experienced seasonal depression. I was legit depressed. Like, for real. Couldn't get out of bed. It was gloomy, overcast, rained every single day.
Yeah. Swear, for me, it's not the rain, but it's like when it's just gray. Straight
Yeah.
up. When you don't see the sun for months on
Yeah.
end. Like, I don't even care
Yeah.
about the rain, really.
Right.
It doesn't
Yeah,
bother
yeah,
me, but it's
facts.
like straight up, there's no vitamin D. You know,
None.
you're like,
Yeah.
so you've been here for what, two
Two years.
Two,
Yep,
3 years?
2 years. Yep.
Okay. Portland is notably considered a weird city.
Yeah.
You know, I think that maybe we stole that keep Portland weird thing from Austin. I'm not sure where that came from. People in Austin think we stole that. People in Portland think they stole that from us.
Yeah, whatever.
But yeah, have you encountered anything particularly weird while you've been here?
I was leaving New Seasons one day in my car, and I'm at the red light, and I see, you know, Portland got a lot of homeless, a lot of drug addicts. And so it's this lady crossing the street, and I'm just like, Jesus Christ. In my mind, I already see her stopping in front of the car. And I'm like, I hope this lady don't stop in front of my car. She stops in front of the car. I'm like, damn, the light finna get ready to turn green. She goes around and try to get in my car. Luckily for me, when you mash the gas on my car, it automatically locks the doors. So she's pulling at the door. I literally almost drive into oncoming traffic to avoid her. I'm thinking she gonna punch the window, put a dent in the car. So yeah, I've seen a lot of weird stuff, man, since I've been here in Portland. Yeah.
How would you contrast like being a rapper in the South or in New York versus being a rapper in Portland? Because I mean, Portland has a rap scene, but it's not established in the same way that it is in those places, you know?
I came from a place where the scene wasn't really established. You know what I'm saying? This is pre the baby. You know, like I was probably the only notable rapper from Charlotte, North Carolina at the time. Now more eyes is on North Carolina because of the success of J. Cole, the baby, a couple other guys out of the city. So I was used to coming from what they consider to be an underdog place. So moving here to Portland, I really haven't even jumped on the scene with music for real. Like, Nightmare is like the first major production that I've done here. But I haven't jumped out on the scene. I did one show at the Doug Fir with Milk, and Andy and Sus, but that was really it, honestly.
Yeah, I wanted to follow up on something you said in the questionnaire we did for Nightmare.
Yeah.
Check that out. I don't know which camera to look at here.
All three of them.
All three cameras. Check that out. Check
and
that out.
the VHS.
But you said something about having trouble feeling inspired or motivated since you've been here.
Yeah.
What do you feel like inspires or motivates you, and why do you feel like you've been missing that for the last couple of years?
It was more so the weather, and then a complete shift in environment, you know? So just really trying to grasp like the creative scene here in Portland. I don't have any family. Like my family was one of like my biggest motivations. You know, my children, my mom, my brothers, my sisters, all that's back in North Carolina. And it's just me and my partner here. So it's like, when I move away from all of that inspiration to be here by myself, it's just like, where do I pull from? So it was hard, and it still gets hard at times. But I think I'm starting to come to grips with being here in Portland. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. So you have 3 sons, right?
3 sons. Yeah.
So what's it like being away from them? I mean, how old are they?
this is gonna sound crazy. I have 2 10-year-olds and a 5-year-old.
Okay.
Yeah, they're not twins, so I have 2 10-year-olds and a 5-year-old.
And yeah, what's it like being apart from them? You know, obviously, it sounds like that's a little bit challenging in terms of your creative process.
Yeah.
You know, how do you manage that, and how do you balance, you know, being a family man with being a rapper? You know, I mean, it's not necessarily at odds with each other, but there's like some things in like the rap culture lifestyle that's like, you know, would downplay like being a family person. You know.
Yeah. Honestly, for real, I'm still figuring it out. You know, I'm still figuring out what going back home looks like, how often I go back, because now I started a music program here in Portland. It requires more of my time, Monday through Thursday. I'm consumed with doing that. Before I started the program, I could just jump on a plane and go to North Carolina and see my kids, you know, so they'll be coming here for the summer. I'll go back quarterly. So I'm just really trying to figure it all out at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? I don't really have the answer right now, but I'm trying my best.
So what's the music program? Talk about that.
So we started, me and my partner Noah Penwell, we launched a music program through SCI, which is a nonprofit here in Portland. So it's like, we look at our music program as like the AAU, right? AAU for basketball in terms of how they cultivate skill in kids and grow them. We look at our music program the same way. We teach kids the ins and outs of just monetization, songwriting, performance, music production, audio engineering. So yeah, man, it's really like the AAU of hip hop, R&B, you know, the whole 9.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
How does something like that come about? You said your partner, Noah, like, is this something that they ideated, or like, where does this come from, and how do you get started with something like that?
For me, it was more so something I was always passionate about. Like, back in my hometown, I was like the hometown hero as far as rap was concerned. So I always helped out with artists. If I could put them on a show, if I could put them on game, if I could do a song with them, if I could help make their records better, if I could just give them any type of nuggets and jewels along their journey that they could take with them and apply, right? So I was always doing that, and I wasn't getting nothing for it. I never looked to get anything from it. At the end of the day. So I just kind of took that concept, and shout out to my guy Bert, man. He lives in Abu Dhabi, which is crazy, but he creates curriculum. So I went to him. I knew nothing about creating curriculums, to be honest, but I was like, man, I want this program to be extremely legit. I have the passion, but I don't know much about creating curriculum. He helped me to cultivate a curriculum. And then, yeah, we implemented it. I sat down with Tony Hobson and Carla Hobson, who are, you know, just great in the community here in Portland. I'm friends with their nephew, and they was like, yo, we could do it. Whatever you want to do. And I was like, all right, this is what I want to do. They gave me the space to do it. They provided me with the resources, and we launched it maybe 3.5 weeks ago. We're coming up on our first month of the program. Yeah.
That's sick, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, you've been making music for a long time, right? You said 13 years, is that what you said earlier? 13 years?
13.
It's probably a crazy thing to like think about, you know, day to day.
Yeah.
You what, 16 projects right now? 16 projects, not counting a million singles or whatever.
Sure, yeah.
Probably 10 million unreleased tracks. Do you have a favorite project that you worked on?
I would say my favorite project, I would say, would be The Patriarch. series. I did Patriarch 1 and 2. I think as an artist, that's when I really found my sound and locked in with some producers that helped me to cultivate what my sound was. The first couple of albums I was affiliated with, I was signed to an independent record label in my hometown. And I just felt like music-wise, I didn't have a vision for myself. They didn't have a vision for me. The vision was make what everybody else is making, and in hopes we could get a hit record or something that could really change our trajectory. And that's just kind of what was my approach then. So once I was no longer with the independent company, Patriarch was the first installment where it was just me, where I had no outside influence, no pressure, nobody telling me like, yo, we need this to work. It was just like, I got in the studio and said what I felt, and I rapped from my heart. And I was like, yo, this is like me. So I consider that my first ever real project, starting with the Patriarch.
Yeah, so how does, I mean, over the course of such a long career, how does your like creative process and your like perception of self change? Like how has Deniro Farrar changed over the course of those years? You know what I mean? And like how would you describe like your process to find like who you really are and your niche as an artist?
Right. I use my actual life, right, as the measuring stick in terms of the growth of my music, because I don't feel like there's a separation with Deniro Farrar and Dante Farrar, the person. I don't feel like I'm a character at the end of the day. Like who I am talking to you is who I am in the music, who I am off and on camera. So there's no separation for me. So as I grow as a human, as I evolve, you may see different things, like my hair has changed drastically. Literally, like Nightmare, I had braids. Now I got a haircut, you know? So it's all contingent upon my mood, but at the same time, I measure that by like, how am I growing in terms of communication with my partner, with my children? Am I being authentic? Am I trying to fit into what is currently going on? And I just use that as my measuring stick to keep growing. You see what I'm saying? Never focusing on what's going on around me if it's not in my actual immediate world, just like sticking to that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, speaking of your hair, so do you have like one of those big like game show wheels at home where you like spin the thing and then you like whatever it lands on, you're like, that's my hair today? Or like what? How do you make decisions on that?
Man, I'm a Gemini, and I don't want to blame it on being a Gemini that I'm like impulsive sometimes, you know, but I feel like at this point in my life, man, the hair just didn't serve me. It hurt when I would get my hair braided, and I'm like, I should never go through pain just to look cool, you know? And so I was like, you know what, I'm cutting this shit off. And I don't want hair. If it's gonna be painful for me to look cool, I don't wanna look cool. I'll just stick with a haircut. So it's not really like this crazy Wheel of Fortune process of like what I wanna do with my hair. It's more so like how I feel, you know?
Pretty self-actualized.
Yeah.
What about outside of music? Like what do you do to relax? What do you do for fun? What are your hobbies?
Man, I'm really into Muay Thai.
Okay.
You know, like I'm really into Muay Thai. Shout out to Greg, man. Shout out to everybody over there at Ringcraft, Muay Thai. Like I'm super into Muay Thai.
That's a studio that you, or what
yeah,
do you call it? Studio?
That's
Gym?
where we do. Yeah, essentially dojo, gym, wherever. Muay Thai. I said I want to get into golfing and tennis, man. My guy Eric Boderick, even Ian, who was a part of BSBD, he's supposed to teach me how to play tennis, but I really want to get into tennis. But I just enjoy being like outdoors, hiking, working out, mainly physical stuff. You see what I'm saying? So
yeah, maybe you did pick the right place to move to. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Into the outdoors.
Yeah.
So I want to talk a little bit about Nightmare, which I know we covered in the video before this. But I want to talk a little bit about the filming of Nightmare. It's going to be a little bit of a retread.
Right.
But I want to talk about your
good.
experience filming
good,
it, your experience with Splash with Peyton.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, it sounds like it was some unexpected occurrences, shall we say, on the set. So talk about that.
It was great, man. Shout out to Peyton first and foremost. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Splash Media. Like I said, shout out to Russ. Shout out to Moses, Alondra. I got her name right. But yeah, man, shout out to them. It was great. You know what I'm saying? This is like me and Peyton had shot. Crazy thing, right? So I moved to Portland. and I get a DM, and I get a lot of DMs, so I don't really, like some of the stuff. Luckily, if you haven't interacted with those people, you can read it without them knowing. And so Peyton DM'd me, and he was like, "Yo, man, I see that you've been posting. You've been out here in Portland. I don't know if you live out in Portland, but like I rock with the music. I love to like connect, shoot something for you." So I'm like going through his Instagram to see like what is this kid really shot. It wasn't a lot there, right? So I don't know, really, honestly, I think it's just God and intuition. So I responded, and I was like, "Yo, let's connect." So we ended up meeting on Alberta, and just his enthusiasm, just his drive, just like everything about him energetically. I was like, yo, I like this dude, man. Like he just seemed so ambitious about helping me bring my vision to life. Literally, it took us 2 years, and then we just started shooting recently. We did Crime Pays and we did Charlie Freestyle. And, we were struggling with figuring out a camera situation, so I went out and bought a VHS camera. And we just started working from there. And, so when he brought on Russ and he brought on Moses to do Nightmare, that was my first time ever working with them. As soon as I came, it was just all love. They were extremely professional. And I was like, oh, this is like a real set, like, because he was telling me, like, trust me, I got these guys, they're great. I didn't know Russ and I didn't know Moses. But working with them, I immediately identified, like, yo, these dudes is real, like, they for real, and Peyton just quarterbacking all of the plays, and they executed it. I was just like, man, I'm impressed. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to stick with this collective of people to help, continue to forward the vision, and just like in the near and far future too, so.
Hell yeah.
It was dope, man.
Yeah. I'm gonna needle in a little bit though, because I heard some crazy shit about that shoot. And I want to know about the crazy shit, or whatever you're comfortable sharing.
Man, it was like, all right. So but I don't gotta say their names.
Yeah, for sure.
We were like some real dudes, man. Shout out to my homie, you know what I'm saying? Shout out to my homie Tyler. He connected me with, his family, and I didn't really know these guys was like 18th Street gangsters, you know what I'm saying? But they were so cool. You know what I mean? Like they was like legit cool. One of the guys got like 18th Street tatted on his face. You know what I'm saying? Like they like real deal, but they were so humble. They were so cool, but I was like, oh shit. Like, these dudes is like for real. So we're shooting on Alberta.
You guys are driving around.
Bro, for real.
In this drop top, like.
On some JFK shit.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going down. You know what I mean? So we
sure.
get to Alberta. And I know that that's like a known blood area. You feel what I'm saying? And this car circled the block like twice. And so, I alerted one of the guys like, yo, man, like kind of, head on swivel. These guys don't circle the block twice. He boom, pop the trunk, get his shit. I'm like, oh, Lord. Like, yo, let's hurry up and like shoot. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, bro, at the end of the day, I ain't dying for no damn music video. And I don't want to be a part. I don't want to put anybody else in no situation that have to do something, you know what I'm saying? So it felt a little sticky, but God had us covered and we was good, you know what I'm saying? But yeah,
if you want to see some sticky shit, watch the Nightmare video. So yeah, I mean, the last time you released a project was 2020, I think, right?
Yeah.
And you've been dropping some singles, some loosies here and there. Like is there a master plan? Is there a timeline? Like, do you have a project, a full-length project you're working on right now? Do you have something cooking like that?
Every song that you heard, Charlie Freestyle, Crime Pays, Nightmare, all of those were produced by Ian, Televangels, like all of them. We had an entire project. We still have the project. But like I told him, I was like, yo, man, we doing this via being independent, And it's just not the climate to be putting out music independently if it's not going to be backed, if you're not going to have the proper marketing dollars to be able to increase the lifespan, create visual assets, just to market the music online in general. It's just like, yo, I would rather drop singles and put energy into them. Like, everybody thought Nightmare was an album or a project that was about to drop. That's because the energy that we put into it.
Production value.
Exactly. But when you do an album, you gotta have money and resources to do a full-on rollout. Do singles, do cover art for the singles, do music videos for the singles, press runs, the whole nine. And I'm just like, yo, you know what? I can drop singles and continue to build up my momentum. And then I'll drop a project. But I need to put myself in position to develop a partnership with the label before I do that,
Yeah, so I wanna follow up on that. Earlier you mentioned when you were in North Carolina and you were on an independent label, you were on Warner Bros for a while
I was on
too,
Warner.
right?
Yeah,
so what was
yep.
and that was a decision that you made to step away from that and go independent, or how did that process develop for you?
Yeah, I wanted to get away from Warner because I was essentially shelved at Warner. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was crazy. I came at such a weird time because their whole urban roster has shifted to Atlantic. So I was the first signee, like, since when they started back doing rap music. I was the first artist that they signed. So I had a joint venture with Vice and Warner. So I was one of the first artists to ever have a joint venture with both companies, right? Because initially Vice wanted to sign me, but they just didn't have their label fully built out. So they partnered up with Warner to do it. And it was cool being on Warner. I never was like going around being like, oh, I'm on a major, I'm on this, I'm on that, because Warner didn't really do anything for me, if I could be honest. You know, like, I would say at the whole time I was with Warner, they gave me maybe $30,000.
And this is over how long? How long were you there with them?
I was with Warner for like 4 years. They gave me a $30,000 budget. I shot maybe 5 or 6 music videos with it.
That seems pretty bad for 4 years.
That's terrible.
Yeah, it seems pretty bad.
Man, you got people shooting just regular IG content with $30,000. I shot full-on production music videos, 6 of them. Shout out to Rico from Real Go. Shout out to Mike Marasco. Those guys were really like my saving grace while being on the label. And they didn't really push me. And I was like, yo, this just don't really make sense, you know? So I ended up losing my deal with Vice due to my internal team not getting along with Vice. Vice ended up dropping me, and then I was shelved at Warner. And I talked to my lawyer, I was like, yo, man, like, if you can get me out the deal without owing any money, like, they can have that fucking music, you know what I'm saying? So I had another album about to drop with Warner when I got off of Warner. They gave me the music. It was like, whatever, you can have the music. We're keeping the album that you put out with us. And I was like, fine. And then I ain't owe them nothing, and I was like, I'm gonna just do my own thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So, I mean, I know we touched on like how big your catalog is earlier. Like, you know, I feel like I look at like the music you put out, and I put you in that like almost that like currency category of like just workhorse, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, you put so much shit out, and obviously now you're being a little bit more selective and thoughtful with it, but like you've spent so much time and energy into, you know, developing yourself as an artist and creating music and putting out music. What sort of advice would you have for somebody who's like trying to break into the game, somebody who's younger, somebody who's trying to learn the ropes, not just develop as an artist, but also as somebody who's like savvy and knows how to navigate the business side of things?
Right. Honestly, man, for real, my first piece of advice would be to pray, right? And I say pray because it's like a lot of people jump into this music shit by choice. This is what they want to do versus actually getting a calling or a sign from God, like, this is what I have you to do. You see what I'm saying? I genuinely feel like this is what God wanted me to do. And this ain't to be super religious, but I also feel that I believe that the quote where they say, many are called, but few are chosen. You see what I'm saying? And if you're one of them chosen ones, he'll put you on a path to the least amount of resistance, and he'll always restore you with the energy that you need to keep going. That's why I'm 13 years in, because I genuinely feel like this is what he has for me to do. So he keeps restoring me. When I feel like quitting, he gives me a sign, you know, like there's light at the end of the tunnel, keep going. So my first piece of advice is to pray. And my second piece of advice is make sure you have a strong internal team. You see what I'm saying? Like, if your internal team is strong, that will get you wherever you want to be. Because even if you sign to a major label, and this is based on experience, I give this advice. If you sign to a major and your internal team isn't strong, a label not going to do shit for you. For real, for real. They just adhere to whatever plans you guys cultivate on behalf of whoever the artist is that the internal team is representing. So if your internal team is strong, you really don't need a label unless you kind of want to just take it to the next level. But yeah, man, you need that team and you need that prayer for sure. Yeah.
Bet.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I mean, that's pretty much all I had. What's next for you? You know, what do you have on the horizon? You know, Nightmare just dropped.
Yeah.
I know that I'm sure we're going to be keeping working together in the future with Splash.
Yeah,
but
for
yeah,
sure,
what else
yeah.
do you have on the horizon? You know, what's next?
I have a few more singles in the can. Man, some amazing music, man. Like some real amazing music I think the next joint we're gonna do what teacher. Yeah, man.
Peyton's nodding in the background.
Yeah, Peyton's back there like a fucking proud daddy. He's like, yes, yes, son, yes. But yeah, teacher is gonna be the next joint that I roll out. I mean, I have so much music, and the thing about being independent now is, having a partnership with a distribution company, I can put out the music as fast as I make it. So now you're really gonna get that boom, 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 boom. Like, Jesus Christ, this guy is going crazy. And so be on the lookout for Teacher. Of course, Nightmare is still out right now, going crazy. The video, the audio, and yeah, man, just a lot more singles, for real.
Hell yeah.
That's what I got.
Cool.
Yeah, man.
All right, well, that's it.
Is this where we hug?
Is this where you want to give me a hug? I'll take a hug, dude.
Come on.
Hell yeah.
All right. Mic to mic.
Yeah, thank you to Deniro Farrar for spending
man.
time with us. Shout out to Splash Media.
Shout out
Peyton
to Splash.
Meyer.
Yes,
Big
sir.
brother.
Yep, and all 3 cameras. Shout out to Peyton.
Yeah.
We out.
Cool.